DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Baldwin, also known as DreAllDay, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is psychographic alignment. Psychographic alignment. I'm going to, of course, I'm going to explain to you exactly what this means and how to use it. And let's just start right there because we're going right into the material. So everybody here has heard of the term demographics. All of you have heard of that before, demographics. Demographics are simply the measurable characteristics of a certain group of people. So things such as, or demographics are things that you can measure, let's say people in a certain space, in the world in general, even in your own town, you can measure demographics. Facebook, for example, any of you who runs ads, or not just on Facebook, but on any platform, when you run ads, you may often do your ad targeting by demographics, such as if you have a program that's just for females, you'll run your ads only to women. Or if you have a program for people who are in the top 10% of income earners, then you'll run your program to people who are in the top 10%, let's say zip codes in America. If you're running an ad for people who play soccer or parents of soccer kids, you'll run your ads to people who have shown some interest in some way in soccer. So those are demographics. They are basically things that you can measure about people because they basically let you know that these are things about them, or they're things you can just count and measure about them. They don't even have to tell you. So if someone has, well, technically they do have to tell you because you can't just go into people's houses. But let's say if someone has 2 kids, then they would be under the demographic of parents who have children. Or if someone owns a car, they're in a demographic of car owners. Or they own a house, they're in a demographic of homeowners. Or they earn at least $100,000 a year, they're in the demographic of people who earn at least 6 figures a year. So these are things that you can measure, and usually you can see them and count them if you know enough information about a person, just black and white information. Age, race, income level, education level is another one. Number of children in the house. Anything can be measured or provided on a graph or data chart. Even if you had to get the information from the person, those are demographics. Psychographics, on the other hand, and this is what we're going to talk about here in this 2-part mini-series, these are things that cannot be measured and are more about what is going on in someone's head. Psychographics. So this is similar to demographics. It's data about people, but it's more about how people think than what it is that we can see and count and measure about a person. In other words, if you want to know someone's demographics, you can just watch them, see what they do, and basically measure their activity. You can get a pretty good feel for their demographics. A person's psychographics, on the other hand, you would kind of need to talk to them or see how they respond to certain things that other people say in order to know their psychographics. You can know 2 people can be in the same demographic category, but be completely different psychographically. In other words, 2 people could grow up in the exact same house. One of them becomes a Republican who's a drug addict, and the other one could become a staunch liberal who's a millionaire, even though they have similar demographics, at least where they came from. They may not end up demographically in the same place, but psychographically, they can have completely different mindsets and completely different ways of looking at things. So the person who became a drug addict may be interested in, I don't know, watching the Maury Povich show and junk food, whereas the person who becomes a millionaire, they may be interested more in personal development, professional development, investing, finance, business growth, and who knows, leaving a legacy behind. But those are all things going on in their head. You don't really know that unless you have a conversation with the person. You could try to guess it by observing them, but generally you would have to have some type of engagement from or with a person in order to know their psychographics. So psychographics cannot be measured. You can't count psychographics. They are more about the way people think, behave, and what they believe. Now, again, you can sometimes gauge by people's actions, but the best way to find out is to have some type of engagement. So psychographics are completely intangible. They are often fluid, meaning somebody may think one way now, but 5 years from now, they think differently. And they are sometimes not fluid. But the psychographics are the key to getting people to really connect with you. The reason we're talking about this is those of you who are out there building audiences, or you want to have a base of fans or a base of customers or clients, the most important thing you need is to understand the psychographics of your audience. And you need to have people in your audience who align with you psychographically, not just demographically. So while you may be targeting a certain demographic of people, and you probably should, you also want to look for the psychographics. That is a stronger connection. Psychographic is a stronger connection to demographic. for it. So, and the better you understand how and why these psychographics matter, the better you'll draw the right people into your world, and the more likely you will keep them in your world. To give you an example, all right, back in the days when I had mostly a basketball player audience, the demographics that I knew I was targeting was 13 to 24-year-old aspiring basketball player males. The males who wanted to play basketball, and when I say aspiring, what I mean is they were looking to ascend at some level when it came to basketball, from high school to college, college to pro, or just not on the team to being on the team, but they had some desire to actually improve at basketball. They were not just playing basketball for fun. That was my target audience. Now, of course, I had some people in my audience who were not trying to go to the NBA. I had people who are 40 years old who were buying my programs because they just wanted to win their weekend games. But my target demographic, 13 to 24-year-old males who had aspirations of making it in basketball. Now, many of them came through my world. Some of them stayed, some of them didn't. The people who stayed, many of them are still in my audience to this very day. And I have not posted a basketball video in 10 years. The people who are still in my audience to this very day are not still there because of the demographics. Because if someone was 13 to 24 years old 10 years ago, they're not in that group anymore, or unless they were 13. They're not in that group anymore. They have aged out of that group. And they are often likely not playing basketball anymore because most people don't go and have a professional career. So many basketball windows for a lot of young males is actually very small, only a handful of years. And they're not aspiring in basketball anymore either, but they still are living life and doing other things. So why are they still in my audience? They're still in my audience, even though I don't provide basketball material anymore, because there was a psychographic alignment. The psychographic alignment are the points that I'm going to share here today, because they align with the way that I think. The way that I think and the way I express myself aligns with the way that they think. And what I'm expressing is connecting with something that is already inside of them. Again, intangible. You cannot measure this. I can't look at you and tell that you think the way that I think. But when I start sharing what I think, if you're connected to the message and you say, hey, I'm aligned with the way this guy thinks, now I know because I can see who's coming in. I can see who's leaving. I can see who's offended by what I say. I can see who's amused by what I say. I can see who aligns with it, who lets me know, hey, I like the way this guy is expressing what he's saying. And that psychographic alignment is more mental and emotional than it is tangible and physical. And the mental and emotional always lasts longer and has a much stronger hold on a person and between people than anything demographic. Everyone understand? I didn't even get into the points yet. So see, if you like the introduction, imagine what the point's going to be like. And again, this is going to be a two-part series. Let's get into it. Point number one. The topic once again here today is psychographic alignment. This is the key to your business future. Number one, as the saying goes, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. All of you have heard that saying before. Now, what exactly does that mean? It means that, of course, on the surface level, people really do need to believe that you are actually looking to help them and you have their best interest at heart if you're going to be a person who they decide to buy from or hire or deal with in any way. They had to believe that you're actually going to help them, because they don't think you're going to help them. They're not going to sign up or buy or go along with whatever you're doing. So they had to believe you have their best interest at heart. And it goes deeper than that. Let me tell you what the next level is. People must also believe that the way that you see the world, at least on some levels, doesn't have to be everything, but it must align with the way that they see the world. In other words, people need to find that alignment in ways of thinking, in mindset, in beliefs, in worldview, in perspective. People want to find that alignment between you and them. Now, again, you don't have to align with another human being on everything, but you have to align with them on some level to which they can feel some type of connection with you, where you become the type of person who they wouldn't mind sitting down and having a beer with, proverbially, as they say. I don't drink beer, but I would drink water while you drink beer. But we can sit down and have a conversation if you are aligned with me psychographically, not just demographically. Because demographically, there could be a male who's over 6 feet tall and he's black and he has his own business. And demographically, we match up, at least in those areas. And maybe he used to play basketball, and maybe he's into what's something else that can match us up demographically. And we're in the same income range. So we get aligned in all those ways demographically. But if he absolutely hates some of the things that I'm a fan of, then we don't align psychographically. So he probably wouldn't want to sit down and talk with me, and I probably wouldn't want to sit down and talk with him. Why? Because psychographically, we are not in alignment, even though demographically, there are a lot of boxes that check. You get what I'm saying? This is what psychographics mean. So people need to believe that they're aligned with you mentally and the way that you think and the way that you see things. And again, what you think, what you believe, why you stand where you stand, what you are against and why you're against it. All of you get the point here. People want to feel as if the way that you think and why you think that way are connected to them somehow, some way, at least in the areas that matter the most to that person. Now, those areas are different for everybody. Some people want to feel like they're aligned with you when it comes to how you feel about politics. Some people don't care about that alignment. Some people want to know that they're aligned with you when it comes to how you think about money, or how you think about families, or how you think about kids, or how you feel about the education system, or how you feel about Donald Trump, or how you feel about Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. Different people have different priority levels when it comes to what psychographic alignment matters most to them. And you you cannot read another person's mind. So the question you should be asking here is, well, how do you make sure that you are aligning with the right type of people? Well, what do you see me doing every day? What I do every single day, or what do you hear me doing every day? For those of you who listen to this mostly on audio, what you hear me doing every day is telling you what I think, why I think it, how I came to arrive at these thought patterns, and going on and expressing even deeper why I think this way and how I came to think this way and what I think about anybody else and how they should think this way, or my suggestions or my offerings of what this line of thinking can do for you. I do that every single day. What am I doing when I tell you this? I am letting you know where I'm at psychographically. I'm not telling you need to meet me. I'm just letting you know where I'm at. And my job is to put that out there. And what happens is the people who are aligned with me psychographically, well, what do? They subscribe and they keep listening. And eventually, as I give you opportunities to do so, you come deeper into my world. All right, that's how you obtain psychographic alignment. Is you definitely don't do. Let me tell you what you don't do. Don't go out there and look at how or think that you know how other people are thinking and try to pretend to be like that. That's faking, and you cannot fake but for so long. Okay, what you want to do is know how you feel about certain things, express it, and then let other people who feel the same way raise their hand proverbially and say, hey, I like what you're doing. I like the way that you're connected. I remember I met a friend of mine who's down here in Miami. I don't know if she's listening to this episode, but I remember when I met my friend Misty. She lives in Miami as I do. And I remember the first time that we met, this is probably about 2018, and she had been listening to this show back then. And I asked her how she first came across me, and she said she came across me here through this show, through the masterclass. And this is before I was even doing video, it was just audio. And I remember something that she said to me. She said, I remember we were sitting in a Starbucks near where I lived at the time. She said, Dre, anything you're doing in the future, I want to be a part of it. And I remember her saying that, and here's why it matters to me, because clearly Misty and I were aligned psychographically. Now, I didn't know much about what she thought at that point. I didn't know much about her at all because she had been listening to me, but I did not really know her up until that point. We got to know each other, and we know each other well now. We have children who are close in age to this date. But at that time, she knew more about me than I knew about her. But when she said that to me, what immediately rung in my head that I'm recalling right now, 7 years later, talking to you all, is that there was clearly a psychographic alignment between what she was already thinking and what she heard from me. Whatever she had heard that made her say, damn, this guy's on the same page that I'm on. And that's what I mean with psychographic alignment. When you are aligned psychographically with another person, psychographically with other people, that's the way they may be thinking about you, or probably will be thinking about you, even if they never actually say it out of their mouths. They'll say other things. I've had people say other things to me that tells me there is a psychographic alignment, and you just have to be able to, sometimes you read between the lines, and if you ask the right questions, then you won't have to read between the lines, they'll just tell you. So I want to be clear here. Excuse me. People want to feel that they're connected to people who think the way that they think. All right, this is just human nature, okay? And I'm just putting a name on it. And again, this is not to mean that you and another person have to agree on everything, because that's pretty much impossible for you and another human being to agree on everything. There are no two people who agree on everything, even when they're married and sleeping in the same bed. But on the things that matter the most, people want to feel like they're on the same page as you. Again, what matters the most is subjective. It's relative. What matters the most to me is not the same as what matters the most to you. But whatever matters the most to you, you probably want to find out how I feel about that. And if there's an alignment, then boom, we're good. Even if it's only number 7 on my list of priorities, but it's number 1 on your list, as long as we're on the same page, you can align with me psychographically. So we don't have to have the same priorities. But whatever yours are, you want to know what I feel about that thing. And when you hear it, you can decide yes or no. You understand? That's the way psychographic alignment works. And the only way, again, people can know if they're on the same page as you or vice versa is you have to let them know. You got to let them know where you stand. And I'm going to get into this more as we continue the series. But this is something that I've been telling people who build brands or have a personal brand, or you want to put yourself out there in the world. This is something I've been telling people for a long time, especially if you're anywhere in the same lane that I'm in, such as doing a podcast or putting content on social media and or anything about your business is about you as a person. Now, every person does stuff, but if you're a contractor, for example, remodeling kitchens, it doesn't really matter that you're the person. It's just the business and can the job get done. But if you're doing something like what I do, like writing books and you're coaching and you're speaking and you're having intimate engagements with the people who come into your world, it matters a whole lot who you are as a person. That's why people need to know. So if you're going to be in this lane, you have to let people know who you are as a person because they want to know before they take another step. Point number 2, today's topic, once again, psychographic alignment. This is the key to the future of your business. Number 2, the stuff that you actually deliver, the things that you sell, whatever it is, whether it's a product or a service, these things do not matter nearly as much as people feeling like they align with you mentally, emotionally, and on your values and principles. Now, I'm going to tell you where the hidden jewel is within all this. You should kind of be getting it. Some of you may be thinking of it already, but I'm going to explain it. But let me say again what I just said. The stuff you deliver does not matter nearly as much as the alignment you have with the people in your world, mentally, emotionally, and on your values and principles. Those are the things they really want to know. Because if you align with someone on these areas, the stuff that you offer doesn't even have to be a perfect match. They will buy. They will step forward. This is even more true now than it has ever been. And it's more true today because people these days choose what shows to watch, what communities to join, what people to follow and patronize based on what? Not based on the quality of the product or service. Everybody says that's the reason why, but that's not the reason why people make decisions. People make decisions based on connecting with people who they like. That's it. As we say in business, the know, like, and trust factor. If people feel like they know you, they don't have to actually know you. They just have to feel like they know you. If they like you and they trust you. How do people come to know, like, and trust you if you never even met them? Again, what do you hear me doing every day? Some of you have been listening to or consuming my material for over a decade. You have a good feel for who I am. So that's the knowing part. You don't have to know me on a deep personal level, but you feel as if you know me because you hear me talk about myself enough that you got a pretty good feel that, okay, this is who he is. You decided that you like the message and I'm the one delivering it. So you like me. And then you trust that whatever it is that I'm telling you or giving you actually makes sense because what I do, I break it down and I explain it, why it makes sense. That is the know, like, and trust factor. And if you're not reading between the lines of what I'm saying here, if you're going to be in the lane that I'm in, where your business is heavily based on your personality and your persona as a person, you need to be doing something where you're putting yourself out there so people can get a feel for your personality. You don't need to put out as much material as I do, but you have to put something out. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be nearly as much. You could be doing 10% of what I do or even less, but you have to put something out there so people can know you. They need to know who you are if you're going to do this kind of work. Now, in other lines of business, this matters as well, but there are different ways of getting your message out. You just have to make sure it gets out there. So again, people can feel like they're on the same page as you. You don't have to be as explicit as I am in explaining where you stand and why you stand there, but people do want to know. What are you about? Where do you stand? This is like a company. Let's say there's a company out there that sells meat. They will ship you steaks and burgers and bacon every 3 weeks in a big box. Now, they don't have to have a podcast. They don't have to put content out every day. They don't need to be doing posts on TikTok or Instagram Reels. But if they do something like say, hey, we are an American-based company and we get all of our meat from America and we do all of our packing and shipping from America and we are really big on employing Americans and keeping all our manufacturing in America. If they say that on their webpage, on the about page of their website, what are they letting everybody know? They're psychographically letting people know that we are aligned with people who are really focused on doing the best for America under basically any circumstances, even if they didn't say that in so many words. And are there people out there who are going to psychographically align with that company just because they said that? The answer is hell yes. Some of you listen to this will psychographically align with that company just because they're all about doing everything in America and not outsourcing their work to other countries. Just on that alone is enough. So again, you can put out content for 20 years like I did every day, or you can put something like that on your website. It depends on what type of business you're in and what type of people you're trying to reach and on what level. All right, so I'm giving you an out clause here, telling you damn sure don't need to put out 3,000 episodes of a show to get psychographic alignment with an audience, but you must put something out, right, for everybody to understand. And another thing on this point, just because psychographic alignment is stronger than demographic alignment or even the quality of your products or services, that does not mean you should be selling garbage just because people know you, like you, and trust you. Because if you sell garbage, they're not going to keep buying because you sold them some garbage. Sell people high quality things, whatever it is, your products and your services, and be emotionally connected with them and being aligned with them. This is the key to building a solid connection in a long-term relationship. So any kind of stuff that you're offering, any kind of stuff eventually grows old. But relationships are based on real connections. Those don't get old. The relationships matter a lot more. All right. To this day, there are business events that I will go to, not necessarily because I'm excited about the information I'm going to hear from the speakers on the stage, because whoever's on the stage, I can get whatever they're offering. I can go just buy all their books, and anything they can say on the stage is in the book. I don't go there for that. I go there because there's a connection that I have, an affinity that I have with the people who run the event, the people who I know are going to be at the event, the energy and the environment of the event. That's the reason why I go. I'm not going there for the information from the stage. Most business events I've gone to in the last 5 years, there's not much information I got from the stage that I had not heard before or could not have gotten without going to the event. The reason I go to events is because of the environment, because of who's running it, because of other people I believe are going to be there and who I know are going to be there. It's the psychographic alignment, it's not the stuff that I'm getting from it. Number 3, today's topic, once again, excuse me, is psychographic alignment, the key to the future of your business. Number 3, it has always been true in humanity that people buy into personalities more than they buy into anything that is rational or logical. That's your stuff. Rational and logical is the stuff. What do I get when I buy from you? I get this, you get this course, you get these books, you get this widget, you get these coaching calls. Those are the rational and logical things. People buy more into who they're getting it from than what exactly they're getting it. This is becoming even more prevalent today than has ever been. And it will be even more prevalent tomorrow. This is why it is always ridiculous when people try to criticize someone who has an audience by saying something like, well, their stuff is not that good, or they're not that good at X, whatever it is that they're doing, or that this person doesn't even make sense. Why do people like them? Or this politician is always lying, or the people in the audience are just not smart enough to understand that this person's bad and they shouldn't be following this person, or this person's not genuine, or hey, there are a whole bunch of other people better than this person. I want you all to understand, none of those things actually matter. What are the 3 things you want to keep in mind? Knowing, liking, and trusting. These are who we do business with. People we know, that we like, and that we trust. If you can create that with people, those are your customers. Those are your clients. That's your audience. That's your, as some people call it, your tribe. Those are your people. The people who know you, like you, and trust you. When people buy into a personality or a feeling or an energy or a movement, the logical and rational parts still matter, but they don't matter nearly as much as the mental, emotional, and even the spiritual connection that brings people to you in the first place. I heard Tony Robbins speak a couple weeks ago. And Tony Robbins is very good at moving and energizing an audience with his voice and with the setup of what he does. His setup is pretty much the same all the time. There's all this music, the techno hype up music that plays before he comes up on the stage. And the last time I heard him speak, that hype up techno music played for literally 45 minutes straight. And people in the audience, about 5,000 people in the audience. I was standing at the back of the room just watching the scene. I was just kind of scoping out and see how he does what he does, watching the way he moves about the crowd. He hadn't even come out on stage yet, but everybody knew Tony's about to come speak. It was on the schedule. Tony Robbins is up next. And this music just plays for 45 minutes straight. And it was like a rave party inside of this business conference. And people were standing up on chairs. They had these glow sticks that you open up the glow sticks and you crack them and then the light turns on and everybody's waving these around. People are jumping up and down. People are in the aisles dancing. And again, 40 straight minutes of just music. No one's talking. No one's on the stage. It's 40 straight minutes of this music. Just going and going and going. And then finally Tony comes out and he does his talk. And the thing about Tony Robbins is that anytime he speaks, if you pan through the audience, you're going to see people tearing up. You're going to see people breaking down and crying. He's able to bring people to that level every single time that he speaks. And I'm saying that to say this. I've heard Tony speak maybe 3 or 4 times. And 80% of his speech, he says, and not even 80%, I say 90% of his speech, he says the same shit that he said before. The first time I heard him speak, last time I heard him speak, he said about 90% of it was overlapped. Doesn't mean it was bad. Now, sometimes we need to hear the same thing more than once. And I'm not saying this to criticize Tony. I'm saying it as a compliment to Tony because I brought up the point that every time I hear him speak, you see people tearing up, you see people breaking down and people crying, getting very emotional when he speaks. And the reason I'm bringing that up is to help you understand the psychographic alignment he creates with people when he gets them to that level emotionally is more important than the actual words that he speaks every time that he talks. That's more important. The reason why he has the base of fans that he has, and this is just his style. I'm not saying you need to be like this because I'm not like that. But the reason he has a base of fans that he has is because he's able to create an emotional connection between his voice and his message and the person in the audience. That's why he has the audience that he has. And he has a reason for that, because if you know anything about Tony's why and how he even got into the world that he's in, is because he grew up poor and he had multiple fathers. And there was one Thanksgiving, someone came to his house and they tried to offer food to him and to his family, and his father didn't want to take the food because he was too prideful. And Tony just felt he could feel that his dad was very shameful, and his dad ended up leaving the family after that. And Tony tells that story every single time he speaks. He usually tells it very early in the speech. Why? Because he's letting you know his why. He's letting you know his reason. And everybody can connect emotionally to that, even if you never experienced it. It gives you a strong emotional connection to him if you have experienced it. And then he hits those over and over again through the speech. If you listen to him talk over and over again, he finds those. Now, he does have his logical segments where he's helping somebody with their business and hot seating them. He does that too. But he does a whole lot of loading up of helping you understand the emotional reason why he is who he is. Why does he do that? Because when you connect to people's emotions, the logic is extra. It's gravy. That's the reason why he has the position that he has. And again, I'm not telling you need to go be like him, but I'm just giving you him as an example because he's fresh on my mind. So again, you are hearing this from someone, everything I'm telling you, you're hearing this from someone who is extremely logical. I like to break things down logically all the time. And I like to break things down in a logical and a step-by-step way. Even though that's my style, I still have a lot of respect for people who create connections that have nothing to do with logic for the most part. And many of you in this audience, you may appreciate what I do logically, but that's not really the main reason why you connect with me. Maybe it's something I said logically, but it caused you to align with me more on a mental, emotional, or spiritual level, even if I was saying it in a logical way. The real connection is, again, what I'm talking about, not what I'm saying, but what I'm talking about. What's the subject? The fact that I'm even willing to address certain subjects is what creates a psychographic alignment between me and some of you in this audience. And what I say about those subjects then creates a deeper psychographic connection. And the fact that I can break it down and explain what I believe, maybe in a way that when you hear it, maybe you agree with what I believe, but maybe you hadn't thought about how you could explain it. Then you hear me explain it. You're like, well, look, he explained it really well. That's exactly what I think. And that creates a deeper connection. And I understand that. At the same time, also accept that when you do things like that, some people are going to say, hell no, and they're going to leave. That's completely okay. We call that rejection marketing. Talk about it in episode 1364. Every time you're looking to openly attract people, you're going to reject some other people. This is just how it works. Tony Robbins has people he's rejected because of certain things he said. All right, so it's not like the whole world loves him. There are people who don't like him because of whatever reason. Because psychographically, there's not a match, and nobody's going to be able to please everybody. And the more people you reach, the more people you will not please. So the fact that I can break things down and explain them is just icing on the cake. That's the logic side. It's the mental and emotional connection that is the real thing. And again, the logical ability to explain is useful, is one of my best tools, but it's not the main thing. And it's not the thing that will draw people into your world either, regardless of what you're selling, doing, or offering. All right, you want more than that, especially if you're going to be in a world where you are one of the main pieces of the offer, you as a person. That said, let's recap today's class. Again, this is part one of a two-part series on psychographic alignment. Number one, as the saying goes, people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. That means people do need to know that you know your stuff, but they also want to know why you know your stuff, where it came from, and what's your reason for being. When you let them know that, that's when you create alignment. Number two, the stuff that you actually deliver does not matter nearly as much as that people feel aligned with you mentally, emotionally, and with your values and principles. And the only way they can know that is you have to let them know what they are. And number three, it has always been true in humanity that people buy into personalities more than they buy into things. Anything that is rational or logical. This is why your personality matters so much. Even if you are not the front person in your business, the business needs to have a personality. What is the personality of Victoria's Secret? What's the personality of Forever 21? What's the personality of Louis Vuitton? What's the personality of Tesla? What's the personality of Mercedes-Benz? The brands have a personality, and people buy into the personality more than it's about the stuff. Everybody understand here? If you don't understand, then tomorrow we're going to get into the second part of this. I'm going to help you understand even more. Make sure between now and then you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com so you can work with me directly, and I can help you figure out what are the best psychographic points you can put out there that are about you, that are real, so that you can find the right people who also align with it. That's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre, all